Hello everyone, welcome to my channel Crochet Rainbows and Butterflies. In this video we are going to learn how to crochet this snowflake, and I will also tell you how to stiffen it. I have been posting Christmas special videos on my channel and this is my 6th video. So if you haven't yet, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel to never miss a video. Now for this snowflake, I have used crochet hook 2.5 millimeter. I have used crochet yarn, a very thin one. This is 2-ply. And to stiffen the snowflake, you need glue. You can use white glue. You need 1 part glue, 1 part water. You need to mix the solution and dip the snowflake in that. And then you need to squeeze it out and lay it flat on a cardboard. You need a glossy surface cardboard so the snowflake doesn't stick on it. And you also need some pins to lay the snowflake flat on the cardboard. I'll show you how I do that. This is all the things you need to make the snowflake. So let's get started. We begin with a magic circle, and in your magic circle you need to work 12 single crochets. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You need to continue working 12 single crochets in your magic circle. I've completed my 12 single crochets in the magic circle. Now you need to pull on to this yarn to close your circle, and now you work 1 slip stitch in the first stitch that we started with in our first single crochet. Now you chain 3 and 3. You need to go ahead and work 1 double crochet in the same stitch that we worked our chain 3. So you work 1 double crochet in that same stitch. Now you chain 2. You skip 1 stitch, and in the next one you need to work 2 double crochets. It's 1 and 2. Now again you chain 2. You need to skip 1 stitch, and in the next one you work 2 double crochets. That's 1, and that's the second one in the same stitch. Again chain 2. You skip 1 stitch, and in the next one you work 2 double crochets in the same stitch. That's 1, and that's second one. So this is the pattern for the rest of your row. You need to work 2 double crochets. We started with the chain 3 and 1 double crochet. Then we chain 2. You skip 1 stitch. In the next stitch you work 2 double crochets in the same stitch. Again you chain 2. You skip 1 stitch. In the next stitch you work 2 double crochets. Again you skip 1 stitch. You chain 2. In the next stitch you work 2 double crochets, and you need to continue this pattern for the rest of your row. I've completed my row, and this is my last chain 2. Now you need to go ahead and work a slip stitch in the chain 3 that we started the row with, like this, and this is what you will have. Now you need to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You need to hold on to this stitch, the 5th stitch right here. You can use your stitch marker if you need to mark your stitch, because we need to hold on to that stitch right there. Okay, after this you need to chain 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now you need to work a slip stitch right into this stitch which you marked, the 5th stitch from the start of the row. So after you chain 6, you need to work a slip stitch right into the stitch that we marked. So you remove your stitch marker and you work your slip stitch right into that stitch like this. Now you chain 3, 1, 2, 3. Again you need to hold on to this stitch. You can use your stitch marker right here if you want. And then you work chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. And you work a slip stitch right into the stitch that you held on to, the 3rd stitch from your first slip stitch that we made here. So you work your slip stitch right into that. Again chain 3, 1, 2, 3. You need to hold on to your 3rd stitch. Now you chain 4, 1, 2, 3 and 4, and you work your slip stitch right into the stitch that you held on to right here. So you have 3 of these. Now you work chain 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. And now you need to work slip stitch in each stitch to come back on this row. So you start with the first one here. You need to go right into the first stitch. You work your first slip stitch. Now in the next stitch, it's the second one, third, this is the 4th one, and this is the 5th one. Okay, so we worked back on this row with a slip stitch, and now you work your slip stitch into this stitch where we created this loop, this little loop here. Into this stitch you work your slip stitch. Now you chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and again you need to work a slip stitch right into the same stitch right here. This is what you have. Now you chain 3, 1, 2 and 3. You hold on to your 3rd stitch here. Hold on to that one because we're going to be working a slip stitch into that again. Hold on to that stitch. You chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Now you come back to the stitch that you held on to and work a slip stitch right into that one. Now again you chain 3, 1, 2 and 3. You hold on to your 3rd stitch. You chain 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6, and you work your slip stitch into the stitch that we held on to right here. That's your slip stitch. Now you chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. And now on your second double crochet here, we worked on top of the first one. Now on your second double crochet here, you need to work a slip stitch. So this is what you will have. It looks confusing, but it's really simple. You need to start with your chain 5 and you need to work a loop of chain 6. You work a slip stitch right into your 5th chain from here. Then you have your chain 3. You work a loop of chain 5. Again you work your slip stitch. Then you work your chain 3. You again have a loop of chain 4. You work your slip stitch. You work chain 6 and you need to work your way back with slip stitches in 5 stitches here, and you work around with the same pattern. After you work your slip stitch on the second double crochet, you need to work a slip stitch into your chain space. We had a chain 2 space here. You need to work a slip stitch into that like this. And once you've done that, you need to chain 15. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 and 15. You have your chain 15. Now you hold on to your last stitch here. You chain 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6, and you work a slip stitch right into the stitch that you held on to right here. Now again we need to work a chain of 15. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And then you need to work a slip stitch into your chain space right here where we started from. You need to work your chain space into the chain space. You need to work a slip stitch. This is what you have. Now you need to repeat this pattern on these 2 double crochets. We worked this pattern on double crochets here. We started with the first one and we ended with the second one. You need to do the same in these 2 double crochets. We'll go through it one more time. You need to slip stitch into the first one. You chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You hold on to the first stitch. You hold on to your 5th stitch right close to your hook. You chain 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. You work a slip stitch in the chain that you held on to right here. Now again you work chain 3, 1, 2, 3. You hold on to your 3rd stitch. You work chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You need to work a slip stitch into the stitch that you held on to right here. You work chain 3, 1, 2, 3. Hold on to your third stitch. You work chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you need to work a slip stitch into the stitch that you held on to right here. After this, you work chain 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then you need to work one slip stitch in each stitch. You need to work your way back into the row. So you start with the first one, your first slip stitch. This is the next one, second, third. This is the fourth one and your fifth stitch. After you work your way back with slip stitches, you need to go ahead and work a slip stitch right into this loop here where you have your loop. Right into this stitch, you work your slip stitch. You chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. You need to work your slip stitch again in the same stitch. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3. Hold on to your third stitch here, the third chain. Now you chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you need to work a slip stitch into the chain that you held on to, the stitch that you held on to. Again, chain 3, 1, 2, 3. You need to hold on to your third stitch here, the third chain. You chain 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. You need to work a slip stitch into the chain that you held on to. And now you work chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and you need to work a slip stitch in your second double crochet. If you can see, we started with our first double crochet of this stitch. Right here, you need to go ahead and work a slip stitch in the second double crochet. So we repeated the pattern. This is what it looks like. We started with this, where we have our double crochets. We worked the row with loops. We started with the first double crochet and we finished with the second one. Where you have your chain space, you need to work this row without the loops. And again, where you have your double crochet, you need to start with the row of loops. You start with the first double crochet and you finish with the second one. I'm going to go ahead and show you how to work this row one more time, which comes after the row of loops, and then you can continue with the pattern for the rest of your row. So once you've worked your slip stitch in your second double crochet, you need to work a slip stitch in your chain space, and then you chain 15, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Now you need to hold on to your last stitch here, the 15th stitch, the chain, and you need to chain 6 After that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. You need to work a slip stitch into the chain that you held on to. And then you chain 15, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And you go into the same chain space where you started your row, right into this chain space here. You need to go ahead and work a slip stitch into that. So that is the pattern for this snowflake. You work your row with loops, your stitch with loops where you have your double crochet. Then you work the row without loop. You just have one loop on top here. You work this stitch, this row where you have your chain space. Then again where you have your double crochet, you work your row with loops. And again where you have your chain space, you work a row with only one loop right on top. You need to continue doing this for the rest of your row. This is what your snowflake will look like once you complete your row. Now for it to look like this, you need to stiffen it. I have used glue to do that. I have used 1 part glue and 1 part water. And you need to go ahead and dip this in that solution, squeeze off all the extra glue. You need to spread it out on a piece of cardboard. You can use a box, and you need to attach pins, flatten it, pull it out and attach pins. I'll show you how that looks once I do that. This is how I lay out the snowflake. You need to make sure you squeeze out the extra liquid from your snowflake before you lay it out. You don't want it to be dripping. Now I've used a glossy cardboard box here so that it doesn't stick to it. It will really be good if you could use a glossy surface to lay your snowflake on. I've used a lot of pins to pull out the rows so that it is really straight. You can add some glitter while your snowflake is wet, and you need to leave it for some hours, maybe overnight, and by then your snowflake will be all dried up and ready. After you leave your snowflake overnight, you need to go ahead and check if the snowflake is completely dried up, and then you need to pull out the pin slowly and slowly remove the snowflake from your cardboard. Now all you need to do is put in a thread into one of these edges and you have your hanging snowflake right there. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching and happy crocheting.